Mutation. It is the key to our evolution. It has enabled us to evolve from a single-celled organism into the dominant species on the planet. This process is slow, normally taking thousands and thousands of years. But every few hundred millennia, evolution leaps forward.
X-Men Evolution is a reimagining of the classic superhero team created by Stan Lee. In this version, most of the students are now teenagers instead of adults. Although most of the X-Men did join the team during their adolescent years, they were typically depicted as adults on their missions. In X-Men Evolution, however, the team remains in high school throughout the entire series, with the exception of the Professor, of course, Storm, Wolverine, and Beast, who joins in later seasons. This worked extremely well on kids like me, who could not only relate more easily to the characters, but since I and many other children were watching the show in elementary or middle school, it gave a sense of appeal to those who wanted to grow up faster and be in high school. It was glamorized at that age. And what kid doesn't want that, to grow up? Today I'm going to talk about Season 3, Episode 3, Mainstream, and the speech presented by Jean Grey that has always stuck with me. The X-Men are an obvious allegory for sex, you name it. If it can be excluded from the majority for being different, especially to the point of violence, the X-Men represent these groups in the Marvel Universe as far as superheroes are concerned. The episode starts off simple enough: slice of life moment, a threat is presented, and confronted by our heroes. They initially believe it's one of their main antagonist groups, the Brotherhood, but soon realize it's only their peers vandalizing the property. By the way, these look really good, and I kind of would have appreciated it and left them up still, because they look cool. Also, it's important to know that mutants were a secret from the world until recently, so students aren't necessarily used to being alienated. The next day, the professor summons the core team, who also happen to be the eldest students at this point, to inform them that they will be allowed to attend school, but only for the day, as a test to see if mutants can truly attend school with normies without their powers causing issues. As if they didn't already attend school for several years without being discovered, let alone causing a problem. But anyways, Shadowcat, one of my favorite superhero names ever made. I just think it's so fitting with her power and unique and cool and interesting. Shadowcat expresses she's afraid to go back to school, which I find extremely telling. Next to Jean, Shadowcat is a social butterfly. For her to so confidently admit she's afraid of the thing that once brought her so much joy, being around people, is incredibly sad. Another interesting moment is when Kurt realizes that his identity hasn't been exposed due to him fighting in his natural blue furry form. Despite public opinion being against him and his friends, actually against his species of mutant kind, if I'm being direct, he still wanted desperately to fit in, even though those people would him in a second. I could honestly do a whole breakdown of Kurt's character growth due to the image inducer, which I could have sworn was called the Hollow Watch, but I digress, in a future video, but it plays a significant role in this episode. Immediately once the team returns to school, their peers begin verbally attacking them. Scott's love interest, what's her name? Tammy, literally turns her back on him. I'd also like to mention his mutation saved her during the shadow dance, so you know. Evan almost loses his cool, and Jean's love interest pretended to accept her to use her powers to benefit him. And the worst part, he didn't even try to hide it. Not even a little, not whatsoever, didn't pull her to the side, almost as if implying that since he's still giving her the time of day, that she should submit to his every wish. This leads to Kurt falling into the crowd when he realizes none of the hate is being directed towards him. Watching his friends get shredded in the lion's den, he was so desperate to fit in that he didn't stick with the only people who actually accept him, except Amanda, who is amazing. And all of this occurs before they're even in the building.
One thing about me, I love a tacky outfit.
Kurt expresses to Amanda that being thought of as normal was the best thing that's happened to him. And out of all the X-Men, this makes perfect sense with Kurt. He wears his mutation on his skin like the Morlocks. There's no hiding for him. Without the professor's technology, he would be outed immediately and probably just not able to attend school. Side note, I do think Duncan really cares for Jean. I mean, look at her. But this doesn't dismiss his behavior throughout this episode and the series. Kurt even witnesses Scott getting jumped by Jocks, one who is Duncan, and does nothing to help. Regardless of the fear of being outed, that's your friend. You help a friend whenever they need it. He then gets asked about his housing situation because duh, he lives with the mutants, and what does he say?
But you're friends with the mutants, right?
Well, I used to be.
Just to save face. Good job, Kurt. So Duncan gets manipulated by Principal Kelly into joining the Brotherhood to harass the X-Men. By the way, I think them placing Senator Kelly as the principal was genius, especially because it was Raven before, and that's something we can talk about if we do more of these video essays. But also to check out my reactions. Later, we find Jean playing basketball. I like to mention she is frequently displayed playing a variety of sports throughout the series. She's extremely active and extremely talented and doesn't need her powers to get a leg up on these weak ass girls. She's proven this time and time again, and yet, when she outshines them, they immediately blame it on her powers, and not their own lack of skill. Jean leaves to find Kelly packing up the trophies, much of which she earned with her teams. Didn't they vote her MVP of the soccer team? Oh, wait, I'm sure she just used her powers, right? And even in this horrible excuse of a human's perspective, he does make a decent point.
Just because we have different gifts doesn't mean we're not normal.
This school has been plagued by disaster. Earthquakes, fires, explosions, vicious beasts. It makes so much sense now.
There have been many dangerous events at the school that were caused by mutants, but it's not like humans aren't capable of generating as much havoc. That's just not put on display. At the meeting to decide whether or not mutants should be allowed to attend public school, the professor decides to have a student speak on behalf of their own instead of himself, and he chose Jean. Fitting, to say the least. Hearing the case from the point of view of the oppressed, i.e. the students, was an excellent decision. It forces those opposed to the idea of mutants attending public school to hear the point of view of the people they are trying to alienate. Jean couldn't be a better choice, as she is an outstanding student, if not qualified to be the valedictorian. She's extremely social, talented, and involved with extracurriculars. As her friends arrive to support her, they are stopped by Duncan and the Brotherhood, and a fight ensues. Only the X-Men must prove their worth by not using their powers, despite being completely justified, in my opinion.
Good evening. My name is Jean Grey. I suppose I can stand up here and recite the 5th and 14th Amendments, or quote some passionate speeches from famous civil rights leaders, but to be honest, I don't want to. Since this is personal, let's keep it personal. Now, most of you have children, and you love them for who they are, not for what they can or can't do. There is a chance that one of them will have an advanced X gene, and as they grow older, they will be considered mutants. You will love them anyway, but people will hate them, and people will want to hurt them. You will hope for the day when your child can live in a safe world. Well, that world must begin now, with you, by allowing mutants to attend public school. Thank you.
I imagine if the professor gave this speech that it wouldn't have resonated with me the same way it does through Jean's point of view. A student's point of view. At the time, at least. All they want is a safe place to learn, with the same rights and common decency awarded to those around them. I remember very early in my life, I heard this speech and it never went away. It can be related to anyone hiding a part of themselves out of fear of being ostracized, and that's what really spoke to me. All they want is to attend school, and that is a hurdle. They're having a meeting to decide whether or not a portion of people can have a basic right to education, when this shouldn't even be a conversation at all. They have a right to be there. After Jean's speech, the battle begins to take a toll on the auditorium, forcing the civilians to flee straight into the conflict. With no other choice, the X-Men began using their powers to save everyone. This selfless act of kindness and Jean's sincerity inspired the PTA to vote in favor of allowing mutants to attend public school. This leads to one of my favorite X-Men quotes.
I'm always astonished at the wondrous things that can be built on the ashes of tragedy. For even in the face of bigotry and discrimination, the X-Men will endure.
My name is Joshwithaz. This is my first video essay, and I hope you enjoyed. I'll do more in the future. If you like this, please hit the like button, subscribe to join the Z fam, and my social media links will be on the screen if you would like for me to do a video essay topic for you, or to do reaction videos. That's also a lot of my content, and I really hope to see you for the next one. Like I said, this is my first video essay, so please, give me notes. You can be critical, you can be nice, you can be however you want, but remember, I love you. Bye!